ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaskar, my dear friends. This is sixth video about Swami Vivekananda's inspired talks given at Thousand Island Park. So the last paragraph in the fifth video was, does seeing depend upon our own efforts or does it depend upon something outside? It depends upon ourselves. Our efforts take off the dust. The mirror does not change. There is neither knower, knowing, nor known. He who knows that he does not know, he knows it. He who has a theory knows nothing. The idea that we are bound is only an illusion. So these were the last words. Now next video, sixth, starts from here. Religion is not of this world. It is heart cleansing and its effect on this world is secondary. Freedom is inseparable from the nature of the Atma. This is ever pure, ever perfect, ever unchangeable. This Atma you can never know. We can say nothing about the Atma, but not this, not this. Brahma is that which we can never drive out by any power of mind or imagination. This was said by Sankara. The universe is thought, and the Vedas are the words of this thought. We can create and uncreate this whole universe. Repeating the words, the unseen thought is aroused, and as a result, a seen effect is produced. This is the claim of a certain sect of karmis. They think that each one of us is creator. Pronounce the words, the thought which corresponds will arise and result will become visible. Thought is the power of the word. The word is the expression of the thought, say the Mimamsakas, a Hindu philosophical sect. Saturday, July 13th. Everything we know is a compound and all sense knowledge comes through analysis. To think the mind is a simple, single or independent is dualism. Philosophy is not got by studying books. The more you read books, the more muddled becomes the mind. The idea of thinking philosophers was that the mind was a simple, and this led them to believe in free will. Psychology, the analysis of the mind, shows the mind to be a compound, and every compound must be held together by some outside force. So, the will is bound by the combination of outside force. Man cannot even will to eat unless he is hungry. Will is subject to desire, but we are free. Everyone feels it. The agnostic says this idea is a delusion. Then how prove the world? Its only proof is that we all see it and feel it, so just as much we all feel freedom. If universal conscience affirms this word, then it must be accepted as affirming the freedom. But freedom is not of the will as it is. The constitutional belief of man is freedom is the basis of all reasoning. Freedom is of the will as it was before it became bound. The very idea of free will shows every moment man's struggle against bondage. The free can be only one, the unconditioned, the infinite, the unlimited. Freedom in man is in a way memory and attempt towards freedom. Everything in the universe is struggling to complete its circle to return to its source, to return to its only real source, that is Atma. The search for happiness is a struggle to find the balance, to restore the equilibrium. Morality is struggle of the bound will to get free and is the proof that we have come from perfection. The idea of duty is the midday sun of misery scorching the very soul. O king, drink this one drop of nectar and be happy. I am not the doer, this is the nectar. Let there be action without reaction. Action is pleasant, all misery is reaction. The child puts its hand in the flame, that is pleasure. But when its system reacts, then comes the pain of burning. When we can stop that reaction, then we have nothing to fear. Control the brain and do not let it read the record. Be the witness and do not react. Only thus can you be happy. The happiest moments we ever know are when we entirely forget ourselves. Work of your own free will, not free from duty. We have no duty. This world is just a gymnasium in which we play. Our life is an eternal holiday. The whole secret of existence is to have no fear. Never fear what will become of you. Depend on no one. Only the moment you reject all help are you free. The full sponge can absorb no more. Even fighting in self-defense is wrong, though it is higher than fighting in aggression. There is no righteous indignation because indignation comes from not recognized sameness in all things. Sunday, July 14th. Philosophy in India means that through which we see God, the rationale of religion. So no Hindu would ever ask for a link between religion and philosophy. Concrete, generalized, abstract are the three stages in the process of philosophy. The highest abstraction in which all things agree is the one. In religion we have first symbols and forms, next mythology, and last philosophy. The first two are for the time being. Philosophy is the underlying basis of all, and the others are only stepping stones in the struggle to reach the ultimate. In Western religion, the idea is that without the New Testament and Christ, there could be no religion. A similar belief exists in Judaism with regard to Moses and the prophets, because these religions are dependent upon mythology only. Real religion, the highest, rises above mythology. It can never rest upon that. Modern science has really made the foundation of religion strong. That the whole universe is one is scientifically demonstrable. What the metaphysicians call being, the physicists called matter. But there is no real fight between the two, for both are one. Though an atom is invisible, unthinkable, yet in it are the whole power and potency of the universe. That is exactly what the Vedantist says of Atma. All sects are really saying the same thing in different words. Vedanta and modern science both posit a self-evolving cause. In itself are all the causes. Take for example, the potter shaping a pot. The potter is the primal cause, the clay the material cause, and the wheel the instrumental cause. But the Atma is all three. Atma is cause and manifestation too. The Vedantist says the universe is not real, it is only apparent. Nature is God seen through nescience. The pantheists say God has become nature or this world. The Advaitists affirm that God is appearing as this world, but He is not this world. We can only know experience as a mental process, a fact in the mind as well as a mark in the brain. We cannot push the brain back or forward, but we can the mind. It can stretch over all time, past, present, and future, and so facts in the mind are eternally preserved. All facts are already generalized in mind, which is omnipresent. Kant's great achievement was the discovery that time, space, and causation are modes of thought. But Vedanta taught this age ago and called it Maya. Schopenhauer stands on reason only and rationalizes the Vedas. Sankara maintained the orthodoxy of the Vedas. Treeness, or the idea of tree, found out among trees is knowledge, and the highest knowledge is one. Personal God is the last generalization of the universe, only hazy, not clear-cut and philosophic. As the entire creation existing in space, time and causation can never exist beyond mind or memory, manifesting itself as thinking, feeling, and willing. Therefore, the whole of space, time, and causation must have to be in it. Hence, mind is omnipresent. Individual mind is a portion of the omnipresent or universal mind, almost shut up in a body like a gulf or a bit of the ocean, mostly surrounded by land, leaving a narrow opening which joins it to the ocean. Unity is self-evolving, out of which everything comes. Physical science is to find out facts. Metaphysics is the thread to bind the flowers into a bucket. Every abstraction is metaphysical. Even putting manure at the roof of a tree involves a process of abstraction. Religion includes the concrete, the more generalized, and the ultimate unity. Do not stick to particularization. Get to the principle, to the one. Devils are machines of darkness, angels are machines of light, but both are machines. Man alone is alive. Break the machine, strike the balance, and then man can become free. Find out that the relationship between yourself and the machine is as between a worker and his instrument. Never identify yourself with it. This is the only world where man can work out his salvation. Whom the self chooses is true. Election is true, but put it within. As an external and fantastic doctrine, it is horrible. Monday, July 15. Where there is polyandry, as in Tibet, women are physically stronger than the men. When the English go there, these women carry large men up the mountains. In Malabar, although of course polyandry does not obtain there, the women led in everything. Exceptional cleanliness is apparent everywhere, and there is the greatest impetus to learning. When I myself was in that country, I met many women who spoke good Sanskrit, while in the rest of India not one woman in a million can speak it. Mastery elevates and servitude debases. Malabar has never been conquered either by the Portuguese or by the Muslims. The Dravidians were a non-Aryan race of Central Asia who preceded the Aryans, and those of southern India were the most civilized. Women with them stood higher than men. They subsequently divided, some going to Egypt, others to Babylonia, and the rest remaining in India. Tuesday, July 16th, Sankara. Adristan Adistam, the unseen cause, leads us to sacrifice and worship, which in turn produce seen result. So we must first hear, then think or reason, and then meditate upon Brahma. The result of works and the result of knowledge are two different things. Do and do not do are the background of all morality, but they really belong only to the body and the mind. All happiness and misery are inextricably connected with the senses, and body is necessary to experience them. The higher the body, the higher the standard of virtue, even up to Brahma, but all have bodies. As long as there is a body, there must be pleasure and pain. Only when one has got rid of the body can one escape them. The Atma is bodiless, says Sankara. No law can make you free. You are free. Nothing can give you freedom if you have it not already. The Atma is self-illumined. Cause and effect do not reach there, and this disembodiedness is freedom. Disembodiedness is freedom. Beyond what was or is to be is Brahma. As an effect, freedom would have no value. It would be a compound, and as such would contain the seeds of bondage. It is the one real factor not to be attained, but the real nature of the soul. Work and worship, however, are necessary to take away the veil, to lift off the bondage and illusion. They do not give us freedom, but all the same, without effort on our part, we do not open our eyes and see what we are. Sankara says further that Advaita Vedanta is the crowning glory of the Vedas, but the lower Vedas are also necessary because they teach work and worship, and through these many come to the Lord. Others may come without any help, but Advaita, work and worship lead to the same result as Advaita. Books cannot teach God, but they can destroy ignorance. Their action is negative. To hold to the books and at the same time open the way to freedom is Sankara's great achievement. But after all, it is a kind of hair splitting. Give man first the concrete, then raise him to the highest by slow degree. This is the effort of the various religions and explains their existence and why each is suited to some stage of development. The very books are part of the ignorance they help to dispel. Their duty is to drive out the ignorance that has come upon knowledge. Truth shall drive out untruth. You are free and cannot be made so long as you have a creed, you have no God. He who knows he knows nothing. Who can know the knower? There are two eternal facts in existence, God and the universe. The former unchangeable, the latter changeable. The world exists eternally. Where your mind cannot grasp the amount of change, you call it eternity. You see the stone or the bas relief on it, but not both at once, yet both are one. Can you make yourself at rest even for a second? All yogis say you can. The greatest sin is to think yourself weak. No one is greater. Realize you are Brahma. Nothing has power except what you give it. We are beyond the sun, the stars, the universe. Teach the goodhood of man. Deny evil. Create none. Stand up and say, I am the master of all. We forge the chain and we alone can break it. No action can give you freedom. Only knowledge can make you free. Knowledge is irresistible. The mind cannot take it or reject it. When it comes, the mind has to accept it. So it is not a work of the mind only. Its expression comes in the mind. Work or worship is to bring you back to your own nature. It is an entire illusion that the self is the body. So even while living here in the body, we can be free. The body has nothing in common with the self. Illusion is taking the real for the unreal, not nothing at all. Wednesday, July 17th. Ramanuja divides the universe into Chit, Achit and Ishvara, man, nature and God, conscious, subconscious and the superconscious. Sankara, on the contrary, says that Chit, the soul, is the same as God. God is truth, is knowledge, is infinity. These are not qualities. Any thought of God is a qualification, and all that can be said of him is Om Tat Sat. Sankara further asks, can you see existence separate from everything else? Where is the differentiation between two objects? Not in sense perception, else all would be one in it. We have to perceive in sequence. In getting knowledge of what a thing is, we get also something which it is not. The differentiate are in the memory and are got by comparison with what is stored there. Difference is not in the nature of thing, it is in the brain. Homogeneous one is outside, differentiate are inside, in the mind. So the idea of many is the creation of the mind. Differentiate become qualities when they are separate, but joined in one object. We cannot say positively what differentiation is. All that we see and feel about things is pure and simple existence, isness. All else is in us. Being is the only positive proof we have of anything. All differentiation is really secondary reality. As the snake in the rope, because the serpent too had a certain reality in that something was seen, although misapprehended. When the knowledge of the rope becomes negative, the knowledge of the snake becomes positive, and vice versa. But the fact that you see only one does not prove that the other is non-existent. The idea of the world is an obstruction covering the idea of God and is to be removed, but it does have an existence. Sankara says again, perception is the last proof of existence. It is self-effulgent and self-conscious, because to go beyond the sense, we should still need perception. Perception is independent of the senses of all instruments, unconditioned. There can be no perception without consciousness. Perception has self-luminosity, which in a lesser degree is called consciousness. Not one act of perception can be unconscious. In fact, consciousness is the nature of perception. Existence and perception are one thing, not two things joined together. That which needs no cause is infinite, so as perception is the last proof of itself, it is eternal. It is always subjective. Perception itself is its own perceivable. Perception is not in the mind, but perception brings mind. It is absolute, the only knower, so perception is really the Atma. Perception itself perceives, but the Atma cannot be knower, because a knower becomes such by the action of knowledge. But Sankara says this Atma is not I, because the consciousness I am, Aham, is not in the Atma. We are but the reflections of that Atma and Brahma are one. When you talk and think of the absolute, you have to do it in the relative. So all these logical arguments apply. In yoga, perception and realization are one. Vishishta Advaita, of which Ramanuja is the exponent, is seeing partial unity and is a step towards Advaita. Vishishtatam means differentiation. Prakriti is the nature of the world and the change comes upon it. Changeful thoughts expressed in changeful words can never prove the absolute. You reach only something that is minus certain qualities, not Brahma itself, only a verbal unification, the highest abstraction, but not the non-existence of the relative. Thursday, July 18th. The lesson today was mainly Shankara's argument against the conclusions of the Sankhya philosophy. The Sankhyas say that consciousness is a compound and beyond that, the last analysis gives the Purusha witness, but that there are many Purushas, each of us is one. Advaita, on the contrary, affirms that Purushas can be only one, that Purusha cannot be conscious, unconscious, or have any qualification, for either these qualities would bind or they would eventually cease. So the one must be without any qualities, even knowledge, and it cannot be the cause of the universe of anything. In the beginning, existence only, one without a second, says the Vedas. The presence of sattva with knowledge does not prove that sattva is the cause of knowledge. On the contrary, sattva calls out what was already existing in man, as the fire heats an iron ball placed near it by arousing the heat latent in it, not by entering into the ball. Shankara says, knowledge is not a bondage because it is the nature of God. The world ever is, whether manifested or unmanifested, so an eternal object exists. Jnana Bala Kriya, knowledge, power, activity, is God. Nor does he need form, because the finite only needs form to interpose as an obstruction to catch and hold infinite knowledge. But God really needs no such help. There is no moving soul, there is only one Atma. Jiva, individual soul, is the conscious ruler of this body, in whom the five life principles come into unity, and yet the very Jiva is the Atma, because all is Atma. What you think about it, it is your delusion and not in the Jiva. You are God, and whatever else you may think is wrong. You must worship the self in Krishna, not Krishna as Krishna. Only by worshipping the self can freedom be won. Even personal God is but the self objectified. Intense search after my own reality is bhakti, says Shankara. All the means we take to reach God are true. It is only like trying to find the pole star by locating it through the stars that are around it. The Bhagavad Gita is the best authority on Vedanta. Friday, July 19th. So long as I say you, I have the right to speak of God protecting us. When I see another, I must take all the consequences and put in the third, the idea which stands between us, that is the apex of the triangle. The vapor becomes snow, then water, then Ganges. But when it is vapor, there is no Ganges, and when it is water, we think of no vapor in it. The idea of creation or change is inseparably connected with will. So long as we perceive this world in motion, we have to conceive will behind it. Physics proves the utter delusion of the senses. Nothing really is as we see, hear, feel, smell, taste it. Certain vibrations producing certain results affect our senses. We know only relative truth. The Sanskrit word for truth is isness, Sat. From our present standpoint, this world appears to us as will and consciousness. Personal God is as much an entity for himself as we are for ourselves, and no more. God can also be seen as a form, just as we are seen. As men, we must have a God. As gods, we need none. This is why Sri Ramakrishna constantly saw the Divine Mother ever present with him, more real than any other thing around him. But in Samadhi, all went but the self. Personal God comes nearer and nearer until he melts away, and there is no more personal God and no more I. All is merged in self. Consciousness is a bondage. The argument from design claims that intelligence precedes form, but if intelligence is the cause of anything, it itself is in its turn and effect. It's Maya. God creates us and we create God, and this is Maya. The circle is unbroken. Mind creates body and body creates mind, and the egg brings the chicken, the egg, the tree, the seed, the tree. The world is neither entirely differentiated nor yet entirely homogeneous. Man is free and must rise above both sides. Both are right in their place, but to teach truth, isness, we must transcend all that we now know of existence, will, consciousness, doing, going, knowing. There is no real individuality of the jiva, separate soul. Eventually it, as a compound, will go to pieces. Only that which is beyond further analysis is simple, and that alone is truth, freedom, immortality, bliss. All struggles for the preservation of this elusive individuality are really vices. All struggles to lose this individuality are virtues. Everything in the universe is trying to break down this individuality, either consciously or unconsciously. All morality is based upon the destruction of separateness or false individuality, because that is the cause of all sin. Morality exists first, late religion codifies it. Customs come first and then mythology follows to explain them. While things are happening, they come by a higher law than reasoning that arises later in the attempt to understand them. Reasoning is not the motive power, it is chewing the cud. Afterwards, reason is the historian of the actions of human beings. Buddha was a great Vedantist, for Buddhism was really only an offshoot of Vedanta, and Sankara is often called a hidden Buddhist. Buddha made the analysis, Sankara made the synthesis out of it. Buddha never bowed down to anything, neither Veda nor caste nor priest nor custom. He fearlessly reasoned so far as reason could take him. such a fearless search for truth and such a love for every living thing the world has never seen. Buddha was the Washington of the religious world. He conquered a throne only to give it to the world as Washington did to the American people. He sought nothing for himself. Perception is our Saturday, July 20th. Perception is our only real knowledge or religion. Talking about it for ages will never make us know our soul. There is no difference between theories and atheism. In fact, the atheist is the truer man. Every step I take in the light is mine forever. When you go to a country and see it, then it is yours. We have each to see for ourselves. Teachers can only bring the food. We must eat it to be nourished. Argument can never prove God save as a logical conclusion. It is impossible to find God outside of ourselves. Our own souls contribute all the divinity that is outside of us. We are the greatest temple. The objectification is only a faint imitation of what we see within ourselves. Concentration of the power of the mind is our only instrument to help us see God. If you know one soul, you know all souls, past, present, and to come. The will concentrates the mind. Certain things excite and control this will, such as reason, love, devotion, breathing, etc. The concentrated mind is a lamp that shows us every corner of the soul. No one method can suit all. These different methods are not steps necessary to be taken one after another. Ceremonials are the lowest form, next God external, and after that God internal. In some cases, gradation may be needed, but in many only one way is required. It would be the height of folly to say to everyone, you must pass through karma and bhakti before you can reach jnanam. Stick to your reason until you reach something higher, and you will know it to be higher because it will not jar with reason. The stage beyond consciousness is inspiration, samadhi, but never mistake hysterical trances for the real thing. It is a terrible thing to claim this inspiration falsely, to mistake instinct for inspiration. There is no external test for inspiration. We know it ourselves. Our guardian against mistake is negative, the voice of reason. All religion is going beyond reason, but the reason is the only guide to get there. Instinct is like ice, reason is the water, and inspiration is the subtlest form or vapor. One follows the other. Everywhere is this eternal sequence: unconsciousness, consciousness, intelligence, matter, body, mind, and to us it seems as if the chain began with the particular link we first lay hold of. Arguments on both sides are of equal weight, and both are true. We must reach beyond both to where there is neither the one nor the other. These successions are all Maya. Religion is above reason, supernatural. Faith is not the belief, it is the grasp on the ultimate, an illumination. First hear, then reason, and find out all that reason can give about the Atma. Let the flood of reason flow over it, then take what remains. If nothing remains, thank God you have escaped a superstition. When you have determined that nothing can take away the Atma, that it stands every test, holds fast to this and teach it to all. Truth cannot be partial, it is for the good of all. Finally, in perfect rest and peace, meditate upon it, concentrate your mind upon it, make yourself one with it. Then no speech is needed. Silence will carry the truth. Do not spend your energy in talking, but meditate in silence and do not let the rush of the outside world disturb you. When your mind is in the highest state, you are unconscious of it. Accumulate power in silence and become a dynamo of spirituality. What can a beggar give? Only a king can give, and he only where he wants nothing himself. Hold your money merely as custodian for what is God's. Have no attachment for it. Let name and fame and money go. They are a terrible bondage. Feel the wonderful atmosphere of freedom. You are free, free, free. Oh, blessed am I. Freedom am I. I am the infinite. In my soul I can find no beginning and no end. All is myself, say this unceasingly. Sunday, July 21st, Patanjali's Yoga Aphorisms. Yoga is the science of restraining the chitta, mind, from breaking into vritti, modifications. Mind is a mixture of sensation and feelings or action and reaction, so it cannot be permanent. The mind has a fine body and through this it works on the gross body. Vedanta says that behind the mind is the real self. It accepts the other two, but possible a third and eternal, the ultimate, the last analysis, the unit where there is no further compound. Birth is recomposition, death is decomposition, and the final analysis is where Atma is found. There being no further division possible, the perduring is reached. The whole ocean is present at the back of each wave, and all manifestations are waves, some very big, some small, yet all are the ocean in their essence, the whole ocean, but as waves, each is a part. When the waves are stilled, then all is one. A spectator without a spectacle, says Patanjali. When the mind is active, the Atma is mixed up with it. The repetition of old forms in quick succession is memory. Be unattached. Knowledge is power, and getting one you get the other. Be knowledge, you can even banish the material world. When you can mentally get rid of one quality after another from any object until all are gone, you can at will make the object itself disappear from your consciousness. Those who are ready advance very quickly and can become yogis in 6 months. The less developed may take several years, and anyone by faithful work and by giving up everything else and devoting himself solely to practice can reach the goal in 12 years. Bhakti will bring you there without any of these mental gymnastics, but it is a slower way. Here by Bhakti, Swami Ji does not mean intense or undivided love for God. He has already taught extreme love and highest knowledge are one, and again in defining it he says this: absolute and continuous remembrance of the Lord is what is meant by bhakti. So by Ishvara is the Atma as seen or grasped by mind. His highest name is Om. So repeat it, meditate on it, and think of all its wonderful nature and attributes. Repeating the Om continually is the only true worship. It is not a word, it is God Himself. Religion gives you nothing new. It only takes off obstacles and lets you see yourself. Sickness is the first great obstacle. A healthy body is the best instrument. Melancholy is an almost insuperable barrier. If you have once known Brahma, never after can you be melancholy. Doubt, want of perseverance, mistaken ideas are other obstacles. Pranas are subtle energies, source of motion. There are 10 in all. So I will take this topic in next video. So I stop this video here. Thank you, my dear friends, for watching, listening this video. Please subscribe my channel, like, comment and share the video. Thanks a lot, my dear friends. Namaskar, namaskar, namaskar.